nicotine rush, martini got a crush, been pushing and pulling, it won't open, it's no good, and I'm wide awake now. I can't get no sleep.
The Blades Ramble are proudly supported by our main channel sponsor, My Business Group, a group of brands designed to support owners, leaders and managers in business. If you're looking to grow your business, contact mybusinessgroup.co.uk today for more information or follow the link in the description below. And as this is hot off the presser, we're proudly sponsored by High Point Access Limited, your number one stop shop for all your working at heights and roofing needs. If you mention the Ramble when you're asking for a quote, you'll receive 10% off any works. Find their details in all the links below. Thank you to High Point Access Limited for your continued support of the Blades Ramble.
Blades fans, subscribe to Blades Ramble. Up the Blades.
What is happening, Blades, and welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am, of course, Jimmy, and this is hot off the presser because Chris Wilder has just finished his press conference, and we are here to bring you all the news and updates from said presser. So, up next, Leicester City. Should we just jump straight in? Should we jump in and see what he has to say, and then we'll get to your comments on it and see what you guys say. So, another really sort of punchy one. I enjoyed this a lot more. He wasn't particularly jovial. That, you know, we've seen previously from him when we won 2 on the spin. He's usually in a good mood and laughing. But it was just like, it's quite business-like at the moment, and I like that. But it was quite direct. It was, yeah, I liked the intent that he... one thing Chris Wilder... Look, you can call Chris Wilder a lot of things. And from my side, it's usually very, very positive. One thing he's not is subtle, and it comes, it comes across in a couple of these answers that he gives. But we'll get into it. Randy Giddins that started us off. Again, this is done via AI in terms of a transcript reader. So rather than me scribbling down notes and getting through as much as I can, we now use AI. So if it says something about when Nigel Adkins wants to move forward with Sheffield United and all this sort of stuff, you'll just have to ignore me. But this is hopefully what the situation was in the presser. I have given it a quick screening. Looks okay to me so far. There's a few bits that I'll have to remember not to say because there's a couple of bits that are dodge. But anyway, so Andy Giddins starts us off from Radio Sheffield. It's always, for those that aren't familiar with press conferences, it follows a similar pattern. Radio Sheffield boys, whether it's Andy, Rob or Adam, start us off with a questioning. Then Danny Hall, usually, if Danny Hall's away, it might be Chris Holt, but Danny Hall, usually from the Sheffield Star, will then come in for the second round of questioning, follow-up questions, and then you've got either external reporters and journalists, or you've got, like, I think there were a few students at the end that asked some questions, which we won't judge because they're growing on the job and stuff like that. So even if the questions aren't as punchy as you'd like, we're not going to criticise. We're just going to tell you what was said. So Gid starts us off. When it comes round, Leicester will be the third game in 6 days, Chris, won't it? How much does the fatigue play its part in your thinking for team selection this weekend? And Wilder says, yeah, we're a bit frustrated with the fixture list because I think that's twice this has happened to us. 3 games in 6 days, Saturday, Tuesday, Friday at Preston, and this one as well. I'm not so sure anybody else has had that sort of schedule. We'll try and check it out, but we've got to overcome it. It's a bit of a juggling act, to be honest. So there's always a little bit of something chucked in, usually with that sort. But he's right. He's right. As much as people were... Now, it sort of opens him up for criticism from other teams. I remember seeing it from Leeds fans a lot last year when he spoke about something similar that happened with our fixture congestion. It's easy to then have a pop at him about it, but it's true what he's saying. We're 3 games in 6 days, and the last of those 3 fixtures is Leicester City away, a relegated team from the Premier League, a really difficult fixture. So yeah, Andy then asks him just to confirm, then is Chong back in contention, and how do you see him fitting in if so? He says, yeah, he can play anywhere along the top line for me. We knew about him from way back when he was at Man United, and then his journey into the Premier League with Luton Town, playing in different positions as well. He can play off the left, the right, or as a 10. He's a really good footballer. I've been really impressed with him. I knew a little bit about him. It was signed before I came in, but I've got to say it's possibly one I would have been interested in anyway. So yeah, we've paid a couple of quid for him, and I'm looking forward to working with him. Gids then asked about Tom Davis. Tom Davis has had a setback. Is there a time frame for when he might be available? And Chris says, no, not really. We've got to look at his schedule and really make sure, as much as we possibly can, that he gets into an extended run at it. He's been really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate for everybody that he's broken down again. We're going down a couple of different avenues. He's abroad at the moment. He's in Germany. He's gone there with our doctor. Hopefully we can get to the bottom of it, because it's important, not just for us, but for Tom as well. It keeps happening. It's not great for him or for his mindset. Gids says, well, it doesn't sound short term. Then he says, well, no, it's not going to be tomorrow or next week. There's a chance we have a deeper dig as well into it. There'll be no rushing him back, no recklessness in his reintegration. We all felt he'd be ready. He'd been ready, so now we maybe have to dig a bit deeper to give him the best chance of a run in the side. What about Ogbenny then? Where is he in terms of his fitness? He says he's working away. I don't think he'll be available for the next 2 or 3 games, but hopefully around the Christmas period, Boxing Day and the games around that, he'll be in and around it. And then, this is definitely not right, because they said, Gyökeres, how would you sum up his influence in the short time you've been here? It's Jairo Riedewald that they're talking about. Riedewald. How would you sum up his influence in the short time he's been here? He says, yeah, we've just been talking about Jairo. Possibly one of the most low-maintenance players you could ever work with. Off the pitch, he just gets on with his job. A delight to work with. An intelligent guy. On the pitch, you can see why he's played in the Premier League for so long and why Palace kept giving him deals. We'd love to work with him for longer. Gid says, are the mechanisms for that in place? Is there a deal set in stone somewhere? He says, no, it's just a conversation. We knew what it was from a technical point of view. Bing. On your Chris Wilder bingo card, point of view. Tick. How he plays the game. We've analysed him. Then there's the fitness side, how he comes into the group after not playing a lot previously. He's handled that fine. He says it's a little bit like when David McGoldrick first came into the club. Oh, what a comparison. I know some fans have compared it to him, but Didsy was such a cult-like figure in terms of the fans, obviously. We all love Didsy. But to compare Jairo to Didsy, that's a huge compliment to Jairo. I know he's not comparing them as players, but just to even mention them in the same names when I know it's similar circumstances that they've come into the club. And that's all he's using as the example, really. But to tie them together as just name check it, I love it. It's a bit of a confirmer from a physical point of view. For him to look at us as well. I'd like to think that he'd be happy extending his deal. We've been delighted with his contribution. He brings calmness and steadiness to our play. Drops on second balls, gets the first pass out, smooths the play. He's not smashing into tackles or spraying 40-yard passes, but he keeps us ticking over, a vital ingredient, especially over the last couple of games. I think anybody that's watched us throughout the last couple of games, particularly, even he's been doing well before that, but the last couple of games, particularly for me, the Sheffield Wednesday game, but he also had a very good game against Portsmouth. He is becoming an integral part to how we play. We cannot forget how, not leaky, that's the wrong word, but how vulnerable we appeared to look in centre midfield. And since him and Peck have come together, and it looks like they've got a bit of an understanding now. They're up to levels in terms of fitness. It looks a lot more solid in the middle, and I'm really pleased with it. Kids then says, you obviously had a very good week. Now coming into Leicester, what do you want to see improved going down there? He says, do we want an upgrade or do we want consistency, really? I said it to Danny before. The biggest compliment you can give the staff and the football club is that people know what they're going to get when they play Sheffield United. We're not guaranteed results, but we want performances. 7s and 8s out of 10s. We don't want a 9 1 minute and a 4 the next, which has happened recently in games. We're going to a club with one of the strongest squads to come down from the Premier League. Shows how tough this division is, and winning games is hard. You only need to look at Man City last season, Liverpool this season. I think Liverpool, who was playing right back for Liverpool? Football fly. That's it, yeah. Football therapy if you haven't seen it already. Regardless of what you spend, you can fall into a spell where winning is tough. And Leicester have top players. This is a big challenge for us. Danny Hall then starts the questioning, and for those that don't know, he alludes to the fact that Chris Wilder were interviewed for the Leicester job in the summer. So this is a conversation around that, essentially. And he says, morning, Chris, in a slightly different world, you could have been in their dugout this weekend, couldn't you? He says, yeah, it's funny how things work out. I spoke to Leicester in the summer. I was impressed with what they had to say, and being out of work at the time, I was disappointed not to get the gig. But you move on. I enjoyed the process, enjoyed the interviews. I thought it might have worked well for me and the staff that I were going to be bringing in. I knew a lot about the club anyway, the players. We worked with a couple of them, Luke Thomas, Hamza Chowdhury, Harry Suter. they had positive things to say. Enzo did a terrific job there as well, and we've got the same agent, so I know a bit about him. It's a big club, but it's worked out fabulously for me coming back to my club and trying to push on. He says, Danny says, you mentioned Hamza there and Suter. You like to keep an eye on former loan players. Is Suter in particular somebody you're still watching? He says, yeah, I've always been. I think he sort of tried to steer away from the question initially, and he certainly didn't definitely answer it. He says, yeah, I've always believed Leicester's academy is top. Well, what's that got to do with anything? Leicester's academy is top. Outstanding players over the years. That was one of the attractions when I spoke to them, supporting academy talent. Great, but are you interested in Harry Suter? He didn't say that. He carries on his thing. He said, Harry had a fabulous part of the first part of the season with us. Big player until Boxing Day when he tore his Achilles. And I've always been a massive fan of Hamza as well. Outstanding for us. No nonsense. Played well when the pressure was on. Playoff semi-finals, and he had a good game in the playoff final as well. So I didn't answer. Are we interested in Harry Suter? You wouldn't expect him to be honest. Worst case scenario, again, we're asking about Gyökeres here. Worst case scenario, Riedewald is that he gets fit for someone else in January. Have you had conversations with him about staying? And Wilder says, yeah, both he and Pat. I'd like to think there's enthusiasm from them to stay as well. There certainly is from me. I've spoken to Betis about it. I think we should push on. They've all got the attributes to help us short, medium, and long term. Balance from experience. We need that balance of experience and young players. It's key. Jairo showed it on Wednesday night. So did Pat. Danny played his part too. Ben Mee's been outstanding. That combination of experience and youth is really important. Danny then says, on Ben specifically then, at 36, with this schedule like you've talked about, how much work goes in during the week to keep him ready for it as well? He says, loads. From an experience point of view, unbelievable. Mentally, he knows how to deal with it. You've got to get out of your comfort zone. He had a fabulous career because he dedicates himself. He acts like a winner off the pitch. Gives himself every chance of performing. The quick turnaround isn't ideal, but you see now, compared to 5 or 10 years ago, players are extending their careers if they look after themselves. You look at players like Milner, Welbeck, Jamie Vardy. Boys are playing into their mid to late 30s now at the highest level. He started off by saying about Gordon Strachan as well, who I think played till he were about 40, but he was playing for Leeds like in his mid to late 30s. And he said he was the example that initially popped into his head, but then he went on to more modern day examples like James Milner, Danny Welbeck, and Jamie Vardy. Lastly from me, it says, Dan, Louis Barry. There's reports saying he's back at Villa with a cyst on his knee. What's the situation? Well, this is where I'm talking about Wilder not being subtle about anything. Because he gives a straightforward answer, which is fine, but you can just tell. You can just tell by the way he carries himself. He's like my father, to be honest. And my brother's even worse for it, where they'll say one thing, but their face tells you a completely different thing. He says, yeah, he's gone back to Villa. It's been a difficult loan for Louis. He's injured, and Villa are going to have a look at it. At the start, he played games under the previous manager. His attitude's been spot on, to be fair. But since I've come in, he hasn't played much football, it's fair to say, with Callum being on the left, Gus now coming back from his injury, Brooks is involved now. We're assessing all the loans, and some will go back. I'm not making a controversial statement right now, but at the moment, Louis is here until the 1st of January. He's back at Villa now, and we'll see how it progresses. Thanks, Louis. Thanks for your service. It's just not worked out for Louis Barry, has it? This isn't Chris Wilder speaking. This is me. We all know it, and it's all but confirmed there for me. He says the next. I think this is where we went into the different reporters and journalists. So we're like the odd one question from different people now. And I think, as I say, I think there were maybe students or new to the game. He says, Chris, you're coming up against Martin Cifuentes. You'll have played against him or managed against him during his time at QPR. What challenges do his teams pose? And he says, outstanding footballers, especially at the top of the pitch. Tick. Internationals all over, Turkey, Denmark. We've got Premier League players, academy players. On paper, it's a top squad for this division. It's a busy schedule with Leicester having an extra day's rest. How much will that benefit them? Chris says, yeah, you'd like it flipped the other way. Any advantage you can get in this league, you want it, but we have to close that gap, be mentally strong, prepare properly, and recover properly. It's an advantage for them, but hopefully it evens out across the season. There's still a long way to go, back-to-back wins. Is it too early to think about the playoffs? He says, you can't take away all the talk, all the supercomputers and predictions as to where everybody's going to finish. I'm not sure they're always right, but we've got a lot of work to do. We'll take the confidence from recent performances. We want to climb the table, but only to look at the next game, which is obvious. Produce the performances of the last 2 games. Somebody asked then, fitness-wise, Ben Godfrey, is he still out? And Chong as well, how far away are they? He says Ben will be playing in the reserves tonight. We've got a behind closed doors game on Tuesday, which will help him out too. Chong's going to be in the group going to Leicester this afternoon, and he'll be involved tomorrow, and he'll get minutes on Tuesday as well. With a free week next week for us, which is obviously there's no game midweek, is what he meant, which is something we're looking forward to. It was then asked, would it mean more for you to beat Leicester this weekend, bearing in mind that he'd not got the job. Marty Cifuentes got the job over him. He says, any win is tough. He says, no, it's no game more than any other. You've got to do a lot right. These things happen. And what happened in the summer with Leicester, I was grateful for the chance to speak to a big club, but it didn't work out. Fortunately for me, I'm here now, where I love being. It's just another game. If we get a result, great. It will cap a positive week, and we need more weeks like this. He was then asked, you said your players will definitely come in January. Do you think the next few games will shape the type of player you can get? No, not really. One game, the reporter sort of said, Stoke I'm looking at in particular. I don't know why he highlighted that game. But what he's basically saying is, do you think you need to continue playing well to keep players, or turn players' heads, I suppose, better players' heads? And Chris was like, no, not really. One game won't make a difference. Players already know what we are. And then he says, so you think the club can attract players that you need? And he says, yeah, we can attract good players. And that were it. That were the end of the presser. Fair play. Good press conference from Chris Wilder again. Gets me up for the game. We will be here watching on the watch along. I don't think I've got a graphic for it, but midday, myself and Jordan Motson on Saturday will be here tomorrow. Make sure you join us if you're not attending the game. I'm going to jump into your comments now, see what you think about the press conference. Stick says, hi pal, sorry if the message about the camera yesterday came across as criticism. It wasn't meant that way. I just want your show to flourish with its quality. Up the blades, keep up the great work. Up the ramble. Like and subscribe. So for people that don't know the context of this, Stick came and said, commented on whichever live we were on at the time, because we've been on a lot this week. He loved the after party, but the camera wasn't quite as sharp as shows like this, essentially. Mate, that is absolutely fair. You're absolutely right. It's not, please don't feel like I can't take any criticism at all. It was very respectful the way you put it across. No issues at all. I want people to feed back to me what they would like to see. I'm not going to be able to accommodate everything, but I agree the camera quality. And to be honest, the reason it was as it was, and I explained it on that stream, and for those that haven't heard it, the after party, which was brilliant, absolutely loved it, and that will stay. But it was we used a Mac, and it was just a laptop camera. So in future, if we know it's going to stay over the next few, I'm not saying definitely for the next one or whatever, but in future we will improve the quality of that production, because the show itself is great, but obviously we want it to be the best possible way of getting the show to you. So don't worry about, mate, you said it in a very nice way, and you were no issues at all, Stick, and I didn't take it the wrong way, I promise. Lou says, morning mate, a call for consistency and repeatability nice is what I took from that. Glowing appraisal of Jairo, and I see the same things from him. Does his job, no fuss, keeps us ticking. Tough fixture again this. A point would be a good result, but I think we can go there and win if we go up another gear. Up the blades, up the ramble, like and subscribe. Thank you to Batman Lou, who has taken part in the Prince and the Pauper edition of Ramble on the Road, which is out now as a short, so you can catch him and Jamie Dumpling doing their take on the Portsmouth game. Tom says, morning Jimmy, another no-nonsense presser. Difficult stretch of games coming, but I feel a bit more confident now. Brilliant to hear he's wanting to press on with the Jairo and Pat deals. Will be big players for us, I think. I agree. You'd like at least a deal to the end of the season for both. I think I'd love a 1+1, maybe even a 2+1 on a cup. Maybe a 1+1 for Bamford, maybe a 2+1 for Jairo, because he's a little bit younger. I don't know. I'm excited at the fact that they could potentially stay. June, good morning. She says, up the blades. Hope you're good. Nice to hear from you in our live. It's not often you get to catch us, but thank you for jumping on. Pete says, morning, Jimmy. Decent press to that. Too much is made about not winning. There for whatever years it is. I'm on your train, mate. Up the blades. Up the award-winning Ramble. Pete Rogers, what a man. Steve Holmes says, morning, Jimmy. Nice to have that winning feeling back. if as expected, Jairo and Bamford have new contracts in January, where do you think we need to strengthen? Great question, mate, and good to hear from you. Hope you're doing well. Where do we need to... Oh, that's a big question, Steve, to put me on the up there. I still think we need a right back. I still think we need an option on the right wing. I think what he will do is play Cal probably on the right and Gus on the left. I think he'll stick with the 4-4-2 because it's brought us such success. We want to keep the two up top, and he wants to keep Callum in the side, understandably so. So I think he'll go naturally with the unnatural wingers of Callum O'Hare on the right and Gus on the left. But I'd like to have an option on the right wing because I like Andre Brooks on the left as a backup to Gus. So I certainly think a right back is needed for rotation or competition with Sariki. I think we're okay at left backs. I think Harrison Burrows will rise to the challenge of trying to get back in the side. McGuinness is cover for Tanganga and me. In the middle, we've got Ollie Arblaster coming back, and Jairo's done a great job. So there's him, Peck, Jairo, Samari. I don't think we can break the loan. I don't think we need a striker now. So I don't think we need as much as we potentially did. And maybe sending some of the loans back will give us more of a budget to go for a higher ticket player as a right back or as a right winger or something like that, or maybe even a permanent. But anyway, permanent deals aren't really the ones for Jan. But yeah, nice to hear from you, Steve, and I hope you're well, mate. Shout out to you and Kath. Elmsey says, have you seen the Pigs have signed Nathan Redmond? I have, yeah, I have. It's a max low one for me, that. We can't be mad at Redmond for taking a deal that we turned him down on, can we? So fair play. I think he's a decent player, Nathan Redmond. I don't know when it's... I assume it's till the end of the season. So really, it's just a damage limitation signing into it for him. I think that's the way I interpret it, because they're going down, and will he want to play in League One? I'm not sure. Blaggard says, how good is it to be back in the zone of feeling positive about an upcoming game and thinking that we can go to Leicester and win? Box Park, a Wembley win, fairy tale season, here we come, up the Blades, up the Ramble. Behave yourself. Behave yourself. Sheila's Wheel says, morning, Jimmy. It was great to see Ted Emsley the other night at the after party. Any chance you could get TC on one day? It would be brilliant. Absolutely there is. Absolutely there's a chance we can do that. 3 points tomorrow, hopefully. Looking forward to the watch along. Yeah, me too. Me too, Sheila. Yeah, it's good to be looking forward to games again, isn't it? Ray says, good morning, everyone. Hope we keep the good form, as we know Wilder's teams are capable of going on long, unbeatable runs. He's put unbearable runs, but I think he means unbeatable runs. Up all the Rambles, like and subscribe. Unbeatable runs. There you go, Ray. Nice one, pal. I can see it happening. Nathan Redmond is a poor man's Andre Brooks. I think Nathan Redmond's a decent player. I've no against him. I won't like him now that he's playing in blue and white, but you know, if he'd have signed for us, I'd have been all right with that. I'd have been all right. I think he'd have been an upgrade on Benny, if I'm honest. Up the Blades Ramble. Love the videos, says Matthew. I like the taxi videos. The taxi videos are back. Thank you, mate. I'm hoping to get out in the taxi today because it's been an early presser. It just gives me a little bit of time now to maybe jump out and do a Friday, because I've not had a chance to do it all week, with it being a 3-game week. So maybe you just get the Friday shift that's released next Tuesday, but we'll see. It's good because it gives me the accountability to get back in. So now I've got pressure to get in the taxi every week, which is good, and I needed that. Paul says, hi, Jimmy. Hope you and your dad, Andy and family are okay. We are, thank you, mate. Hope you are too. I predict a 2-0 Blades win against the Foxes. Onwards and upwards. We're on a roll, pal. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Zonny says, I'm sorry, but Tom Davies has to go. Waste of space. It's so unfortunate, isn't it? It's harsh because by all accounts, he's one of the nicest kids you could ever hope to meet. And he's a very good footballer. So even if you take the personality aspect out of it, he's a very good footballer. Dave the Nose thinks he is possibly our best midfielder when all are fit. I don't want to speak for him, and don't know whether he's including Ollie Arblaster in that equation. But he's a very good player, certainly for the level. He's just never available. And I think it will be his last season with us, to be honest. In Tufty we trust, says Paul. Tom Not From says, momentum is definitely a thing in football, and I think we're starting to seriously build it at the moment. I reckon we get at least a point out of this. Yeah, I think so too, pal. I think so too. I'd be well, I'm not going to say it. Dave Morwood, good morning, pal. Morning, Jimmy. What am I doing up at this time? How good does it feel after 2 positive results? Onwards and upwards. Yes, mate. Nick Hardwick says, morning, Jim. Great listen whilst working as always. Your Ben Me captain without the armband comment got me wondering if all the kicking off and mid-game scraps were down to Robbo and his attitude. Look, right. Who would you rather have in the back line right now? Ben Mee or Jack Robinson? And this is an honest question, and I don't mean to revert back because I'm trying to distance myself from this Jack Robinson tag that I have. It's one of the few that I've just stayed strong on throughout because I don't think he's a top-end championship defender. Ben Mee, he's in the twilight of his career, but I would certainly say he's a very good centre. I think he is what we could have had, this sort of level of player in the team, when instead we had Jack Robinson. Look, Jack Robinson had good games for us, and he was committed to the shirt, and he were diving in for challenges, and that gets the crowd up. But there were also a lot of things I didn't like, and you hear other things about him that you know aren't great. I think he's struggling to get in at Birmingham now, isn't he? So that's where we are. He should never have been a starter for a top-end championship team pushing for the Premier League. Wouldn't have got in the Leeds team, wouldn't have got in the Burnley team, wouldn't have got in the Sunderland team. So that was my issue, the fact that he wasn't good enough, and I partly blame Wilder for it because he persisted with it. But in terms of his attitude, I think just because you don't have to be aggressive to show passion, do you? I can't deny that I quite enjoy the battling together as one, and I don't mind a bit of argy-bargy at times, but not with each other. Team seems to be much calmer with Mee's presence, says Nick, and that's worth its weight in gold. And in the fine money we'll be saving. Yes, that's true as well. That's true. Positive Jack says, I think another 3 points are on the way tomorrow. These are struggling. However, the right United need to turn up. First half was flat, but we look good on corners. And this is what Leicester have conceded two goals from. All right, okay. Happy for Tommy Cannon as well, says Jack. 2 goals for Tom Cannon, says Paul, against his former club, the Foxes will do. Jimmy Powell, up the Blades, up the Ramble. Yes, mate, I think Tom Cannon has a chance of starting. He'll certainly play, I think, some part against Leicester. And is it that old hoodoo of the old player going back? Let's hope Hamza doesn't subscribe to that method as well. Or Luke Thomas. A Luke Thomas screamer from 30 yards. Barry's too lightweight, gets knocked off the ball too easily, says Zonny. Matthew says, well done on the awards. Thank you, mate. Appreciate that. Jack says, I think we need another right-back, right-winger and a centre midfielder with Davis out. But then we'll have Blaster Peck, Samari and Jairo. That's 4, isn't it? So I'm not... And same for 2 positions, we've got 2 positions at striker and we've got 4 bodies to go in there. Tricky. With lots of options up front, centre-back and left-back. Femi's doing amazing, but it would be nice having that rotation for him. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think he's doing amazing. I think he's had a really good game against Sheffield Wednesday. It showed us what we've been missing as well when he's come back into the team. But I thought he looked a little bit suspect at times against Portsmouth. But it's a 3-game week and he's very energetic. I can't take away from the fact that he is always up and down. We didn't take it for granted. We recognised it at the time, but when we had George Baldock and Ender Stevens, their engines were incredible. And it's not the levels that you should expect from players, but we got it from them too. It's very difficult to go 90 minutes up and down all the time. And it's a 3-game week, which makes it even worse. Hi, Jimmy, says Phil. Definitely need a winger in January. Chariots of Fire says, still light at right back. That needs cover. Second goalkeeper, and we're not far away. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Megs for low. Yeah, love that. Cooler King says, it's a pity Barry didn't work out. From the first couple of games, he didn't look like a good fit. He's clearly not a winger at this level, but he might have a future as a striker, in my humble opinion. Yeah, he's certainly not going to be getting into the Villa side at any point, I would think. So it'll be a case of where do you pitch him? Do you try and put him at... Look, we are... what I'm about to say, we are, 21st in the league. Do you put him at a lower level championship side? And by that I mean teams that he will play consistently for. Oxford, who are above us. I understand all this. Are they above us? I'm not sure. But Oxford, teams like this, where he will definitely play. Or do you place him in League One with a Stockport again and maybe put a £1 million price tag on his head? And if they're promoted, they buy him for $1 million, or maybe even $2 million if they can afford it, that sort of thing. This is more his level. Just because he was a good young player doesn't mean he were at Barca or Real or something like that. doesn't mean he's eventually going to be the next Wayne Rooney, because he's certainly not, unfortunately. Not on current evidence, anyway. Jack says, not to go so early, but I dreamt about the playoffs and promotion the other night. I remember I saw you put it in Platinum chat, pal. Imagine that, Wilder coming back, sorting all this mess out, and we get promoted. Pray for my head loss. I do this every time. No wrong with that, pal. No wrong with that. Daniel Bedingfield says he's got to get through this. Any truth in the rumours of the Prince and co returning, Jimmy? No. COH looking for investment and the rumours of the Prince's interest flying about. Up the blades, up the ramble, like and subscribe. Look, I don't want to ever say no, and it's certainly not off the table completely. I know they've asked the question of Prince Abdullah. I know Prince Abdullah has not ruled it out, but I would not expect any progress with that at the moment. And in fact, I think it's very unlikely that we get any progress with that, if I'm honest. Ben Me, every day of the week and twice on Sunday over Robbo, says Ray. Won his class, and we know who that is. Bald and brilliant, but probably. Morning, pal. Morning, Jamie says, I know I went for a defeat in football therapy predictions, but I would love to be proved wrong tomorrow lunchtime. Hart says 2-1 win. Head says 2-1 defeat. What's that Liverpool player's name? Ben Me's a leader, says Jack. When Tanganga and Pompey play... I can't do that. Sorry, I've just spat all over my microphone. Ben Me's a leader. When Tanganga and Pompey play was having a go, he stepped in front and moved them all away. Yeah, it's subtle things like that as well, Jack, into it. But I just think he's a proper centre-half. A proper centre-half. Pete says, it's no mystery how poor we were defensively before and after Harry Suter last season. I agree. Andy Blade says, I'm not your dad. I hope that is somebody else other than my dad rather than Andy the Blade saying I'm not your dad. I hope there's a firm plan in place to keep Jairo beyond January. It is exactly what we've been missing. Andy, I agree, pal. I completely agree. And I think, judging by everything that Wilder's said, there definitely is plans for that. I think what we'll have to be doing is working on some deals in the background to get players out, because they've only given Jairo and Pat deals to January because there will be a limited budget. You know, you can't just give players 3-year contracts when you don't even know how they're going to be fitness-wise. But we will need bodies out. He came in and he talked about the bloated squad. And then he's brought 2 players in because he clearly didn't trust the players in that bloated squad. So we'll get rid of some loans. I'm fully obviously Louis Barry is a goner after that press conference there, which, like Cooler King says, it is a shame, but it's just not worked for whatever reason. Tyler Binden will go. Ben Godfrey will go. I don't think we can terminate Samari or Ogbene, but then there'll be players going out on loan. Ryan One's got to get a loan. Louis Marsh, what are they doing in the 21s? They're not at a level which will push them on, and they're not going to be in the first team squad anytime soon because of the level of player that we're bringing in. So that's my thoughts on it. I think we will get them to be tied down, but I think we need to sort of free up some funds first from the existing squad. The boss life, if you're not sure what we're talking about, and you're not already aware of Ramble Football Club, which is our sister channel, we go and talk about wider football across there, and we've got a show called Football Therapy that we do every Thursday. We were on last night, and it was just very funny. Very, very funny, certainly at one particular point. Big test on Saturday, says Dave Vinter. We'll be there cheering them on. Quietly confident, up the blades, up all the rambles. Thank you, David Vinter. Hope you're well, pal. Nice to see you. You're going again to the game. Brilliant following that we always take with the away blades. So thank you to everybody for joining me this morning. I'm a bit discombobulated, to be honest. So we will next be back. You will next see me on the watch along. 12 o'clock tomorrow. It'll be myself and Jordan Motson. Still laughing at Lee's flower pot man impression last night. Blah, blah. So yeah, we'll be back tomorrow for the watch along live on the internet, 12 o'clock on the Blades Ramble, myself and Jordan Motson. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards! Up the blades!